Good morning and welcome to the EZFX Signal Trading Room broadcast for November 1st, 2016. My name is Bradley Freed, and today we'll be going back through our watch list that we last updated yesterday. I'll be looking at our new and open trades, anything that's changed, anything that's closed, and I'll also be available to answer any questions if you're attending live. If you're watching the recording, please send an email at ezfxsignal@gmail.com. You can also post the trading room group or send me a private message via our website. So we had a couple of trades that closed, the Aussie CAD sell and the Euro Aussie buy. I want to look at those real quick. Let's just jump over to the charts. First, the Euro Aussie. So this trade, it hit its initial profit target. If you remember, we moved it stop to break even. So we took some profit on it. It's dropped, and the triangle moving averages changed color. That is a reversal signal. That is an early exit signal. So we can go ahead and take profit there, close the trade. That means that our largest profit was attained at the initial profit target here at 185. And the remainder, if we close it out now, we can get another 83 pips off of that trade, off of the remainder. Overall, the trade is profitable, and it just looks like it wants to drop right now. So I'd say let's go ahead and take the money off the table. And we made 185 pips on that maximum. Aussie CAD sell, that was our other one that's closed. And this, unfortunately, it stopped out. We had an initial trend line here. We had a Class A signal up here. On that confirmation, we went ahead and got in the trade. The triangle moving average had also changed color, I believe. But then it retraced up. Really didn't give us an exit signal or an opportunity to get out, and it hit the stop. So that's done. Potentially a trend trade entry up here. If it closes above the supply zone, you can put a stop below this where that zone was and size a trade in the buy direction. But for now, this trade is closed. The loss on that was 132 pips. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our 3 new pound trades that we would like to get into, but we're a little bit hesitant about getting into. At least I am, because I have a downward bias on those pound pairs. Pound dollar is the first one. We had to close above our trend line. We redrew yesterday. It's dropped again. This is really not convincing to me. I would need to see this triangular moving average change color to blue to indicating a bullish shift in the direction of the trend. That has not happened yet, so this is still a new trade. I'm waiting for that additional condition to be satisfied before I'm willing to trade it. Also, because it hasn't shown much enthusiasm maybe after breaking our trend line, I would go ahead and draw another trend line encompassing this latest wick up here. And it would have to break that and do a triangular moving average color change before I would consider getting in the trade. I really don't think there's a problem waiting a little bit longer on these, especially because this has been such a violent downward trend for so many months, and because this flash crash and the general state of the British country and economy indicate that their currency is due for additional devaluation in the coming months. So be very cautious about getting into a buy trade on this pair. Pound Aussie, very similar situation, I think. This close above this trend line we drew yesterday, and it dropped again. And the triangular moving average changed color to red again. So this is starting to show signs it's maybe headed for lower lows. I would not be interested in trading this in the buy direction at all, unless we see a significant close above this trend line, and we can even redraw it as we did on the pound dollar. To include this latest wick it made there. But this is still not a trade I would enter. Pound newsy buy. This actually broke above the triangle we drew around the consolidation yesterday, and then it's dropped again. It didn't close significantly higher. I mean, it would have been an entry signal, I guess, but it's still consolidating, right? The highs are getting lower and the lows are getting higher. And it could break either in the buy or sell direction. So I would redraw the trend line or redraw the triangle, whichever you think is most appropriate. But just give it a little more time. It needs to show you, in addition to everything else it's shown you, it's giving you a triangular moving average color change. It needs to have a significant close above this line that indicates that there's a meaningful shift in the direction of the trend. Otherwise, I think this is just going to drop out of its consolidation, make a lower low, and start heading down where this flash crash took us a few weeks ago. Next, we have a pound yen buy. This is the only pound pair that I am in right now. And it's done okay. We actually got a higher high here. It did drop a little bit with these other pairs, but the direction of the yen is in the buy direction. On the euro yen, on the dollar yen, it's pulling this pair upward as well. So as long as we don't have a violent drop in the pound, I think this will continue to flow with that towards our initial profit target up here. And that is a signal trade. Dollar peso buy. This made a higher high last week. It dropped. It's recovered a little bit. I'm still waiting for it to eclipse this high and punch through this recent supply zone. But it's still open. It's still doing what we would hope it would do. Euro Swiss buy. It's our next open signal trade. This has dropped. I think it's still moving within the range, though. Remember yesterday it was down here. Cover over the course of the day to reach the previous high, maybe go a little bit above it. And it's dropping again. With that, the triangular moving average changed color. We don't have an opposite class A signal, though. I would say because we're close to the entry point, we just need to hold on and see if we can break out of this range in the buy direction. An initial sign of this happening would be if this pair rises and touches the new monthly pivot for November. And beyond that, of course, our planned profit targets further above. Next, we have our euro dollar buy open trade. This has done actually very well. We had a nice rise. It almost punched through the supply zone. We're getting very close to our initial profit target at 1.1047, the weekly pivot. And if we can just go a little further, we'll get there. And then we can move our stock to break even, take some profit off the table, and focus on our final profit target up here, which is at this weekly pivot at 1.1179. That is just in front of the 78.6% retracement level. Alternatively, you can use this monthly pivot from September. That is actually exactly at the 78.6% retracement level for this setup. Now, I guess one concern I would have is we need to make sure that we adjust our Fibonacci down a little bit. That's going to pull those out of line, the monthly pivot and a little bit, but not much. So you can still think of that as a potential profit extension target. Easier to see, of course, in the 4 hour. I think we were looking at this on the 1 hour, which is why we didn't focus on that initially. But either one, a little closer, it's a little bit easier to hit. It's a little bit higher probability. So it's up to you which target you want to choose. Euro Newsy buy. That's an open trade. It's a signal trade. This continues to move in a good direction. It really hasn't broken out from this little zone of consolidation since yesterday. We're getting widening movement, though. So I'm hopeful it'll break out to the buy side and get to our initial profit target at the Fibonacci 50% retracement of this recent downtrend. At the moment, it looks just fine. Dollar CAD buy, that's our next trade. This was not a signal trade, but it was one that we've been talking about since it set up and through each step along the trade's life cycle. We're kind of stalled at the right above the initial profit target, but the triangular moving average is still blue. We're still trending. We're not even trending, really. Since yesterday, we haven't done much. The last higher high was here, and now we're just moving sideways and consolidating. Support is definitely this weekly pivot. It's our initial profit target level. And I'm looking for a break higher to get to this, the bottom of the supply zone at 1.35494. We're still waiting for that to happen. Finally, our dollar kroner. This is a trade we've been in for a month, just maybe a little under a month now. And it dropped. We had a pretty significant drop here out of our consolidation. I'm not too worried about this. Our triangular moving average is still blue. If this turns red and we get a class A signal here, then I would go ahead and close out this trade. We'll just give up and take the profit off the table. But it may very well, if the dollar recovers, if we get dollar strength, it may very well recover higher and get to our initial target. So for right now, I'm still in, but we should be aware that this may be one that gives us an exit signal that we will have to make a decision of whether or not to continue or to go ahead and take what profit we have off the table and close. Let's go to our watching list above. The New Zealand sell was one we have been watching. This really isn't doing much of anything. It's very chaotic on the 1 hour chart. If we go to the 4 hour chart, it isn't much more clear. It's actually a real mess. It's trending in the buy direction with very big movement up and down, not a real tight trend, kind of a messy trend. So at present, I don't think there's much for us here. I'll just leave it on the watching list and continue to check back until we have a setup that we can use. A Euro pound sell. This is another one that we've been looking at. Nothing really new setting up. Remember, we went ahead and closed this out, or we didn't trade it at all. And I think it's done. I think it's going to go higher, and it would hit the stop if we stayed in it. So this is, and there's really no new setup at this point in time. So I would just kind of wait and we'll see what happens next. Because this triangular moving average is changing color, there's really not any significant momentum in either direction. This is an area of consolidation, an area of sideways motion on this pair. And I would simply wait until something new sets up in a new area of the chart. Finally, we have our NZ CAD. This is the last trade we'll be looking at today, or the last currency pair. It's not a trade yet. It continues to move higher. It's trending sort of in a shallow way. If we look at it on the 4 hour chart, it's a little bit easier to understand what's happening. We do have a trend. It has a lot of volatility. It's not a very tight trend. And line below that trend, and continue to watch it on the 4 hour chart. If we shrink this down, we can see that overall the direction on this pair is in the buy direction. It's in a long-term trend. On the daily chart, it's more pronounced, but it is extremely messy. The CAD pairs tend to be that way. At present, I don't see a good setup on this pair for us, but we'll continue to watch it and see if something appears that we can use in the near future. Those are all the updates for today. I will be back tomorrow with another edition of the Trading Room, where we will go through these charts one more time and check the progress on our trades, see if there are any new currency pairs that are watching, and hopefully taking some profit, especially on the euro dollar. That looks really good. And I will, of course, be sending out announcements as trade signals as these trades progress. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another Trading Room. In the meantime, have a great day, trade well, use your risk management, and ask any questions that you have. Don't hesitate. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.